welcome to the Fertility Conversations podcast. The goal of this podcast is to create more awareness about infertility and to provide support to people trying to conceive. Thank you for listening today, and we hope you will be encouraged. And now, here is your host, Ola.
Welcome to episode 18. Today I'm joined by a lovely guest, Mogee. Mogee is a fellow infertility warrior who endured 6 IVF cycles, numerous tests, consultations, clomid sessions, injections, and lots of sleepless nights before welcoming her twins. Mogee is the CEO of Mogee Magic, which is an online artisan confectionery company based in Lagos, Nigeria. If you have questions about her journey or you'd like to reach out to her, you can send her an email, info@mogeemagic.com. Her details would also be in the show notes. So welcome, Mogee, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yay. So to start off, please tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for fun?
What do I do? Okay, my name is Mogee. I know, as she said, I'm CEO of Mogee Magic. Thank God, by God's grace, a mom now, married, and I don't know how to talk about myself. What do I do for fun? I honestly don't know. That's such a random question. I'm like, I bake for fun.
Well, that's good, right? Baking is good. I mean, we get to taste the chocolate.
But that's my work as well. So yeah, I guess I have fun while at work. So
that's wonderful. We love your cakes. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for blessing us with it. So tell us about the first time you met your husband. I know you know that you're married.
This is a very, very, very... Okay, so I met my husband in primary 1.
Really?
We were in primary school together from primary 1 to primary 4.
Wow.
He claims that he was eyeing me then, but I have no recollection.
Wow, that's amazing.
And because my name is Mogee and his name is Soji,
all right.
So like that kind of like,
yes.
I guess maybe people just used to make fun of us or whatever. And then I met him again in uni, very random. Like I went with my friend. I went to see my friend in her class. And he came with his friend to see someone in the same class. So I was about to enter the classroom. He was just standing outside by the corridor and it was just like Mogee. And I looked at him, I'm like, Soji.
Wow.
And that was it. As they say, the rest is history, I guess. But yeah.
That's amazing. That lesson was meant to be, isn't it? One of those stories.
I guess so. I think it was meant to be, yes, one of those stories.
And was there a specific time that you knew that you wanted to be a mom?
I don't think that I really thought about it. I think it was the whole, when you're a child, they kind of put in your head, okay, you get married and you have children. So in my head, I had planned my life. I'll be married by 25. I'll have my first child. I wanted to wait a year before trying. So I have my first child by the time I'm 27, have my second child when I'm 29, have my third child when I'm 31.
Yeah.
So that was just my plan. I mean, like, I didn't get married till I was 28. So I was like maybe 3 years behind.
Yeah, behind the schedule.
My ideal plan. But I was like, okay, not too bad. We can still make this work, I'll still have my first child when I'm like 30. So that's not too bad. So, it was all planned in my head. and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, but life had other plans.
Yes, life had other plans.
Wow. So tell us about your infertility journey from then till now.
Okay, so as I said, I got married when I was 28. And then I had always wanted to wait a year.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I was just like, that's kind of when you really get to know your husband and all that. So waited the year. And then after that, okay, the first 6 months, nothing happened. Like, okay. Went to see the doctor. Oh, yeah, fine, nothing there. Okay, no problem. the year, nothing happened. My mother-in-law is a gynecologist.
Oh, okay.
So she was like, okay, anyway, that since they said there's nothing, let's just do Clomid.
Right.
I think Clomid is kind of like the first step, So we did Clomid cycle like twice or so, or 3 times, and nothing happened. So she was like, by this time, like was I anxious? I guess I was, but not really. My husband wasn't even bothered. I think most men just like, well, when it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
They don't really, attach too much emotion to it. So went for a test again, and they still said nothing was wrong. So my mother-in-law was like, well, I think we should just go and see an IVF specialist. I didn't even know what IVF was at that time. I'm just like, okay, what's IVF? What's this? So I went to Uncle Google, and then reading all sorts of stuff. Okay, before then, actually, okay, yeah, when she said the IVF, and then somebody gave me a book by Mrs. Yewande, God's Waiting Room. And I read that book from cover to cover in a day. And as soon as I finished reading that book, I just burst into tears. I'm like, God, what is this? Honestly, that book is supposed to be encouraging. But man, I think I took all the negatives I could from that book. I was just like, 20 years, 18 years, 12 years. I'm like, God, what's this? Like, I couldn't even understand it. I was just like, no. So we went to do the IVF, and then we saw the doctor. He was like, oh, you're young. Your husband is young as well. That don't worry, you guys will do fine. So in my head, it was like 1 + 1 is 2. Like, I didn't even think anything of it. Like, okay, let's do this. So we went. The injections were horrible. I'm not even going to lie. Because at that time, I was taking the injections in my thigh.
Right.
And it was so painful. I couldn't even give myself the injection. So I was going to the hospital every day.
Really?
To take the injection. Yes, because it was so painful. The needle was so big. I still remember it. Oh my goodness. It was so painful. And I was just like, there's no way I can give myself this injection. So I went to the hospital every single day to take that injection. I remember one of the days, I remember it very well. One of the nurses, she was praying. She was just like, she was rubbing my leg as she was giving me the injection. And she was like, in Jesus' name, this thing will work for you. You'll be all right. And I remember looking at her like, amen.
Yeah.
But when you don't have conviction, like, is it not 1 + 1 is 2? Like,
exactly. What's the big? Why do you even need this? Yeah.
Like, why the drama? Kind of. And then we did the egg retrieval, and they got, how many eggs did they get? I think they got 5 eggs or 8 eggs or something. And I remember the doctor saying, "Oh, that's very low for someone my age." That he was expecting like 20 or something. But that it doesn't matter, they'll work with what they have. So they did the thing. We waited the 3 days. They got, I think, 2, or I think it was 8 eggs, and they got 5 embryos and stuff. And so they put 3 in. I mean, I was so convinced I was going to work. Like, I didn't want. I was so sure. And then it didn't work. Oh my goodness. I think that's the first time it actually occurred to me that, okay, this thing is not magical. It's not 1 + 1 is 2. Like,
it's not guaranteed. Yeah.
It's not guaranteed, But from my first impression or interaction with the doctor, I don't know why I thought that, don't worry, it's done. I mean, because he just seemed so like, oh, you guys are young. You won't have any problem. I've looked at your test results. Everything looks fine. I don't know why it's not working. So let's just do this and you'll be fine. And then, as in I don't think I reacted because I didn't know what the reaction should be. And I remember them saying, maybe you do another cycle. And I was just like, yeah, let's get on with it. let's do another cycle.
Of course,
Like, okay, wait for your period to come, then wait a month or two. And to me, I was just going with emotions like, okay, do another cycle. Let's get on with this.
Yeah.
So I didn't process it at all. It was just on to the next one. So we did the next one. The same. In fact, this time, there were no embryos to transfer.
Oh, no.
And I think that was when it actually dawned on me that, okay, this may be a very long process, and I was just like, okay, that's when I started then feeling the emotions like, wow, is it possible that we will never have children? We've done this twice now, and I just went into a phase of, then I didn't even know who to talk to, because at that time, I had kind of put a distance between myself and my friends, because I was going through that phase of, please, I don't want to hear anything more about your children and you. I'm here struggling to have my own children. And all you're saying is your children, that, please. No, I stopped going for baby showers. Like, I was just disinterested. Family gatherings were a struggle because everyone is praying for you or looking at you. I remember a year after we got married, this time I wasn't even pregnant though. I hadn't even started trying. But I put on weight from the marriage. And I remember dancing on the dance floor. Somebody sent a message to me through someone that a pregnant woman should not be dancing the way I'm dancing. I was just like,
no.
I'm not even pregnant. Like, what is drama? Kind of thing. So, like, I was just like, okay, I'm not even interested in going for family gatherings because, there'll be too many prayers or too many stories or... So, like, I was just always at home. I wasn't going anywhere. It was just work. I just threw myself into work. And then, so I waited like 6 months or so. And then my mother-in-law, of course, because she's a gynecologist, she was concerned and looking at the medical part and you're not getting younger kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's not like she was putting any pressure like, why are you not pregnant? Hers was more of medical advice, so to say. So she was like, okay, I know the first two were difficult and stuff. Do you want to try again? Maybe you could go to another hospital, think about it, kind of thing. So we decided to try another hospital. And our experience in that second hospital was totally different. The injections were so much easier, not painful. It was, I don't know if it was, maybe technology had changed or whatever, or what it was. Like these ones, the injections were in the tummy, the needles were so tiny. Like, so I was giving myself the injections, and even just the general interaction was so different. So I was just like, okay, I think I became a bit more optimistic. I kind of looked at their records, the reviews and stuff, and it was very good. Even when we did the extraction, they didn't get a lot of eggs still. They got like maybe 12 or so, and then 8 took. And the whole thing was just better.
Right.
And they were very optimistic. And we did the transfer. Even the embryos were like grade AA, the highest grade, all that, and all that. So I was just like, okay, it's happening. And then we did the transfer, and then the 2-week wait, and then nothing happened. Oh my goodness. As in, like, I think at that time my world just shattered, because this one, my experience with the clinic and all, and even with the grades of the embryos. So I really thought, we hit the jackpot, and then it didn't happen. Oh my goodness. So the doctor was like, well, he's honestly going to say the truth. He doesn't know what happened. Like, obviously, it's a God thing.
Of course.
And he's done everything he can. The only thing he can do is maybe increase the dosage a bit, but he didn't want to increase it too much. I don't have, I'm not overstimulated, all those kind of things. So we did the cycle again, and he failed again. And then at that point, I was just like, okay, do you know what? I'm not even doing anything again. I didn't want to do anything. I'm not even interested in doing anything again. So I just put a halt to it. I remember one day sitting, my husband had traveled and I was watching TV. I was watching the church, Elevation Church on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And the preacher said something. He was just, I don't even know what he was preaching about. He wasn't preaching about fertility or anything like that. But he just preached, and he said that for your shame, God shall give you double. And that just stuck. Mm-hmm. And I just held it. You know how you've heard something, but you know, it just, let me say, the word just becomes life.
Yeah.
And that word just became life for me. And I was just like, God, for this shame, you are going to give me double, and I'm going to have twins. And I held on to that. And that's all I held on to. And I just used to say it to myself. And I just used to say it, for this shame, I shall have double. For this shame, I shall have double. And then my husband comes one day and says that, okay, sorry, they're transferring us out of the country, and we had to relocate. So we had like 2 or 3 months to get ourselves together.
Wow. And
we relocated. So we relocated to Houston. And then I was like, okay, I'm in Houston.
Exactly.
Yankee. These doctors are bad. Okay, let's try this. Thank God the insurance covered it. So I started researching. I found a doctor I wanted. You know, I'd read it up on him, and I was just like, okay, this is the guy. Mm-hmm. And then I called the clinic, and I was like, okay, I want to register with this guy. And they were like, oh, we're sorry, he's retired now. Oh. You know, do you want us to give you another doctor? I'm like, another doctor? Can this be the person I read? This is the person I wanted. Lady was like, oh, they're sorry, we're not, there's nothing we can do. You know, he's not taking any patients. So I'm like, okay, just give me another doctor. So just give me another doctor. And then I went up, I read up on him. Just like, well, whatever. So got there, he read the files, because we got our files from Nigeria. Mm-hmm. He also was impressed with the second hospital. He was like, he wouldn't change anything that they did. Right. That he thinks that they've done everything they could do, but you know, they would also just try their best. And then I started reading different blogs and stuff. I started reading about different medications you can take. Oh my goodness, I put my husband through a lot. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, we're still talking about this like a few weeks ago. So I got a list of drugs. Sorry, medication.
Supplements for him.
Supplements for myself and for him. I was taking about 16 different pills. Oh, wow. He was taking about 12. So
wow, he took them. That's amazing.
And he took them. I got this case, you know, these cases that you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and morning and night. So I split the pills. And so I put him on all these supplements, and I put myself on all these supplements. I mean, it was just horrible. Like, we did the first IVF cycle, and he failed. Oof. Nothing. So we did the second one. Now the doctor was like, oh, there's this injection he'd heard about that can give, make your eggs better quality. Mm-hmm. Well, I think the injection was like almost $2,000 or something. My husband like, where are we going to get this kind of money from? Yeah. So he said, well, he'll check if our insurance will cover it, blah, blah, blah. They checked. I think the insurance covered it. So it was like, okay, they will just give me. Mm-hmm. They gave me. We took the, did another cycle. Yeah. And then it failed again. So when we did the second cycle, I think we had 5 embryos. They put 2 in because 2 was their maximum they put in. And then they had 3 left. Mm-hmm. It was like, well, it was the 3 hadn't, okay, of the 3, 1 was good. Two
Right.
hadn't fully developed. So they have just told us that they will get rid of the two and keep the third one, because we had even told him that we were probably relocating back to Nigeria and stuff. So they said they will keep one, and the two they'll get rid of it. So we did that transfer. It didn't work out. At this point, I was just so depressed and so sad. And then I started looking for another doctor. I was just like, there has to be a way. Yeah. I started looking for another doctor, found the doctor in San Antonio. So, no, not San Antonio, Dallas. So we took a trip to Dallas, and we met a doctor there, the doctor. And the long and short of what the doctor said was that use donor eggs or use donor sperm. That if you've been doing all these cycles for so long and your eggs are not working or his sperm is not working, then just use donor eggs and sperm and have your children. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So I remember after that meeting, and it was like that, I'm sorry, that you're never going to have children. You have to just do it this way. And I remember saying, God forbid, I reject that, that's not my portion, and that's not even what I want. And I remember having my husband and I, because we just went to Dallas for that weekend. And after that meeting, I remember I was going for a very long walk, and we were just discussing what the guy said. And then we came to an agreement that if after 5 years we don't have children, can we adopt? And we were like, yeah, maybe we would adopt. That we'll prefer that to doing donor eggs or donor sperms. There are already so many children in the world. Let's just adopt. So that was our conclusion that day. And the next day, because we were in Dallas, I had always wanted to go to Pastor T.D. Jake's church.
Oh, yes.
So we had planned that as well into the trip, that we're going to go to his church. And as we got into the car park of his church, some lady hit our car. So we had an accident that day. And I remember saying, God, like, okay, something is trying to stop us from going for this service. We're going to go for this service. And I was so excited. And we got into the church only to find out that Pastor T.D. Jakes was preaching in Houston near our house
wow.
that Sunday. And we were in Dallas.
Oh, wow.
And then a lady preached, Dr. Yasmin, I think is her name. And I can never forget her message. And that message spoke something to me that just rekindled something. And she was like, there's something you're about to give up on.
Wow.
Give God one more chance. Just give him this last chance.
Wow.
And before that, when we went to the day before, when we saw the doctor in Dallas, he said something that my husband and I didn't know. So we had collected our case files from the doctor in Houston. And it was like, oh, I see you have 3 embryos left, frozen. And we were like, no, we have 1. It was like, 1? This file shows 3. So we're like, oh, okay, I hope the doctor didn't make a mistake or something, because they told us 2 weren't good and they were freezing 1. So when she said that, she was like, give God one more chance. Just give him a chance. And I just told God that, God, I'm going to give you this. I'm just giving this whole thing to you. And I know you're going to do it. And I know we're going to have children. And from that day, my mind took a shift. And I was just like, God, we're going to have children. And I started focusing more on my prayer. I started focusing more on God. That was when I started reading. I think that was when I started reading the Faith Study course by Kenneth Hagin. That book changed my life, changed my understanding of what faith is. I realized that, yes, I'd been hoping, but I didn't really have that faith to carry through. So it helped me understand what faith actually meant. second, I started spending more time with God, I remember vividly one day in the bathroom, and I was singing this song, Break Every Chain by Tasha Cobbs. And I couldn't stop singing that song. And I sang that song over and over and over and over and over. And I literally remember a second in which it was almost like I was free, like as if I had been bound. And like the chains were literally broken. And I knew that, like, I just knew that I was free. This thing was gonna happen. I did not know when, I did not know how, but I just knew it would happen. And we called the clinic the week after we got back to Houston, and they told us that, oh yes, we actually have 3 embryos. That when we did our cycle, they started a new experiment where they started keeping the embryos to 7 days instead of 5. And ours was the first they experimented with. And by the 7 days, the embryos had developed and were perfect. So they froze it. And that was why we had 3 embryos left. Is this not good?
Yeah, right? That's amazing.
So I just, like, and as I said, at that time, I was just convinced that no matter what, I started celebrating with those that were celebrating, because I really had gone into a dark place where it's almost like I didn't even want to rejoice with anyone. I started rejoicing with people that had children. I'll call, I'll celebrate with them, started going out more again. I was just at peace with myself as well. And I was happier. I was in a place of joy, just convinced that God is going to do it, irrespective of when it happened or how it happened.
Yeah.
And that was when I wrote my testimony. I remember on New Year's Day, I think I must have put my testimony on my blog, like on the 2nd of January. I remember, I think it was...
Sorry, before the babies? Or the testimony?
Before the babies, yeah, before the babies. So I put up a testimony before the babies came of how I was free, how I knew God was going to do it, how I did not know how, but I was just convinced. And I remember writing that testimony, and I gave my mom to read. And she was like, no, I shouldn't put it up. People don't do this, that the testimony comes after. That this is not the kind of thing I should be posting. Of course, the typical Nigerian mom, she was just concerned. But I remember going to church, and I was so uncomfortable. Like, my spirit was just restless. And I looked at my husband and I told him, I said, please, because of course it wasn't just my testimony, it was our testimony. And I looked at him and I said, please, I need to do this. I'm not at peace. Can I, because he had read it as well. I had written it, but I hadn't put it up anyway. That can I post it? And of course, like, he's a guy now. Guys don't really like their businesses out there. They're so private and stuff. So I really thank him for giving me the permission, and was like, it's okay, you can post it. And I posted it, and I was just free. Like, I was free. Like, I was so happy. I was just like, okay, everybody knows now. Like, now, yes, I'm struggling with this thing. I struggle, but I'm free. Like, it's going to happen. So it's okay. Like, even when I went for parties and there are 100 people praying for me and they're praying that you have your baby, I'll say, no, I'm having twins. Please, let our prayers be
exactly.
Pray for twins. That's what I'm having. That kind of thing. Like, there was no shame again. There was no shame, because infertility definitely comes with shame. Even if it's not outward shame, there's an inward shame that you feel. Like, why can't I do this? Why can't this happen for me? But it was just gone. And then we got news that we're coming back to Nigeria. So we started planning. I mean, we still had the embryos there. So we were like, oh, okay, let's just go and put the embryos in. Like, we can't keep them frozen because we don't know when next we're coming to Houston anyway. And we still have insurance. So let's just get this done. So we went to do the transfer. I mean, it was just different. Even that, like when we went for the frozen cycle, it was so different when we got into the theater. For the first time, my doctor asked me, was like, "Oh, we have what's it called? iTunes. What song do you want
Really?
us to play?" I'm serious. And I just chose, honestly, I can't remember the song I chose, but I chose one of the worship songs by Hillsong. And I remember the nurse sitting beside me was like, "Oh, I've never heard this song. This is such a lovely song." And I was just there in my worship mode. They did the transfer. As soon as they did it, I was like, "Thank you, Jesus, we're pregnant."
Wow.
Left, and then 2 weeks wait. Yeah, 2 week wait. So I had always planned in my head how I wanted to tell my husband that we were pregnant. No, not 2 week wait. Sorry, that day.
The test date.
The test day. Yes, the test day. So you go for the test and then they call you, right? So I went for the test in the morning. Yeah. I remember on my way home, I stopped at Target. I bought a card. What was the card? I can't remember what they wrote on the card. Like, congratulations or something like that. And I wrote a message to my husband and I wrote, "Congrats, Daddy. We look forward to seeing you." I mean, at that time, we were choosing names for the babies. We were choosing names. Had we chosen names? I can't remember. Well, maybe I wrote your children or something. I can't really remember what I wrote, but I bought a card. I put it on the table with some chocolate. I got home. I had a Thanksgiving worship for like an hour. I was just thanking God. Praise. Okay, it was praise and worship. It was praise. It was strictly praise. 1 hour of praise. And I was just thanking God that we were pregnant. And then waiting for the call.
Oh, so you didn't know the results then?
No. Because they'll call you later with the results. Yeah. So 1 o'clock, no call. 2, no call. And my husband kept calling. Have they called? No, they haven't called. Have they called? I'm like, man, this must be bad news. Because I didn't think it was bad news, but I was just like, they're not called. 3, they hadn't called. 4, they hadn't called. 5, my husband came back from work. He saw the card. And it was like, they've called. I said, no, they haven't called. That I bought this in the morning. And then he just gave me a hug. And as he gave me a hug, my phone rang. And it was the doctor. He was like, "Oh, hi, Mogee. Sorry, I'm just calling you. So the numbers look good. They're high, something." So I'm like, "Okay, what does that mean?" He was like, "Oh, did someone call you earlier?" I said, "No, that this is the first call I'm getting." He was like, "Oh, the nurses were supposed to have called that we were pregnant, that the numbers look very high." And we just started screaming and jumping. Was so excited. And that was how we got the news that we were pregnant. But of course, even with pregnancy, it doesn't just come, like, that's not the end of it. We had so many scares in between. There was a night that I woke up bleeding and I went to the bathroom and a clump of blood just whooshed out of me. Sorry for the TMI, but that was it. No. Like, we rushed to the emergency room immediately because in fact, my husband said he was convinced that we had lost because it was so big. But thank God that he's God and he finished what he started, So different scares here and there. But God was faithful till the end and is still faithful even till now, with so many different things. But that kind of is my journey in a nutshell. Was that a nutshell?
That's so amazing. I just, wow. Thank God.
Yes.
Your story is so inspiring, and I think the fact that you wrote a testimony before the babies, that was so different. You know, I'm like your mom. Then I'm like, what? You gotta wait, wait till you have the babies, and then.
I think God also needed me to just. I think for me that was my test of my faith. That do I really believe that I'm free? Am I really convinced that He will do it? So I think, and I think I knew within me that I needed to do that. I actually needed to do that. I don't know if my miracle would have happened if I didn't do that. I'm sure He would, God being merciful and good and all. But I'm so convinced that I needed to do that, you know, for the full testimony to come through.
Wow, amazing. And the fact that you also went and bought the card dancing and, you know, having praise for something. Especially, you know, this wasn't your first cycle. You had cycles in the past when you done tests and it wasn't positive. So, you know that there's that possibility, but yet.
I honestly, like, when I look back now, I think I need that level of faith again. My faith was on like a different planet, honestly. Like, it would mean now, as I am now, would I have done that? I don't think so. That's the honest truth. But like at that time, it was just obvious that like the Holy Spirit was just ordering everything, like do this, and I was just following, like no questions asked, you know, no questions asked. I was like, do this, and I was just straight up.
Amazing. So thankful for your testimony and for you showing us how important faith is. You know, I think
it was the everything. It was the everything. And honestly, it's reminding me that I need to get back to that level of faith, even in like the different things I'm believing God for, you know. But it was actually the everything, and that book totally helped me understand it.
The faith study course, right? Yeah, definitely checking that out.
Hagen.
Yes. Amazing. And the fact that you noted that you put out that information on the blog testimony, and of course being Nigerian, I'm Nigerian as well, and we know how our culture is. I know you felt convicted to write about it, but how was it after? I mean, considering, you know, in this culture, again, we hide and somehow try to sneak around until the testimony is here. When you put out that much information on the blog and everyone could read it, how did you feel after? Was there any response from people as well? And
I think a lot of people were encouraged by it. I think secretly, a lot of people couldn't understand it. Like, why would she even put up a testimony when because some people actually send me messages like, oh, so are you pregnant? I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant. So I think some people couldn't even understand that, okay, so you're not pregnant. So like, what's the testimony? Like,
like, is everything okay? Oh my.
Well, for me, it was a testimony of liberty, of freedom, of conviction that it was gonna happen. So like that, and that was basically what I explained to them, that the testimony is not when you're seeing it physically.
Yeah.
It's when you already know that the manifestation has happened. Like, it has happened. You may not be able to see the physical manifestation, but the spiritual manifestation is done. And so that was the conviction I had, that it was done. I do not know, I literally did not know if it would happen in a year or in 2 years or in 10 years. And I didn't care. I actually didn't care. But it was just the fact that, Mogee, don't worry, you are going to have children. 1 year would be good, but 10 years would also be good, because I know it's going to happen anyway. It's up to God to determine when it will happen. So,
wow, that's amazing.
And the fact that shame was gone.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That was a very big one for me to overcome. It was a very big one, because I really struggled. I really struggled with rejoicing with people, especially people that had kids. I mean, all my sister-in-laws got married after me. They had 2, they had 3. In fact, when we're in America, one of them came to have her 3rd child.
Oh my!
You know, there. And I remember, I mean, she was in my house, and I mean, I could have done better, really.
Yeah.
You know, but I was still in that phase.
Of course. Yeah.
So I didn't do as good as I could have, you know. But as I said, thank God for the liberty, you know, that helps change things for me.
Wow. Amazing. And I know the book, of course, you noted that changed your life during that time was the Faith Study Course, Kenneth Hagin. So
yeah,
that's good to know, because sometimes people wonder what to read, something to encourage them during the wait time.
Yes. Even just like waiting for anything, just
right.
understanding the faith principles.
Any quote or word of affirmation that you said to yourself on a regular basis during that time that you think was very helpful? It was just that
scripture, for your shame you shall have double.
Right.
That was it. And I was like, God, I'm going to have twins. I'm going to have twins. I'm going to have twins. That was it. At some point, I was like, God, I think I want triplets. So after we found out that we had 3 embryos, I'm like, okay, maybe triplets. And then
exactly, right?
Like, yeah. Hello, like it's twins. We've been. I mean, let's stick to the twins, okay? Let's stick to the twins. So I went back to the. I'm like, okay, let's stick to the twins. It's okay, I'm good with that. So I held on to that. I did.
What would you tell your younger self now, looking back? So before you got married, you know, when you had all those plans in your mind and how things were going to work, if you're looking back now, you could talk to that Mogee of when you were 26 or 25. What would you say to her?
I would tell her that be patient, rejoice with those rejoicing. Everything is a season, and we overcome seasons and we become better. Wow. You know, enjoy every season. That's what I would tell myself. Well, because even in looking back, I know that those times of depression, of sadness, there were so many things I could have enjoyed. Even just sex, like after a while, it just becomes a routine. Please.
I know, like ovulation, but I get here. Where are you? You want to go where?
Go where? Every woman waiting can relate to that. Every single woman that is waiting can relate to that. You know? So, yes.
Wonderful. And any words of encouragement? I mean, you said a lot of things, you know, but if you wanted to give any words of encouragement to anyone or couple dealing with infertility, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would say that don't let the infertility affect your relationship. One of the things that my husband always said, especially when I got into my moods, was, Mogee, I did not marry you for children. And I really pray that couples can focus on that. Yeah. That you did not marry because of children. There's a reason why you got married. Focus on that love, that relationship. The children would come by God's beautiful grace. Even those that, and like, for me, even though I had that freedom and I knew God would give us our children, I wasn't concerned about how. So if God had said is adoption, I was up for it. Right. I don't know that I was really up for the donor eggs or donor sperm. I don't know. But whatever method it is that God shows you, or you pray about, or you pray concerning, let there be agreement in it, and do it. There are people that they adopt and then they get pregnant. There are people that they adopt and they don't get pregnant, and it's just the adopted children. There are people, I know people that are older and they just regret never adopting, just always looking, and pray about your own circumstance. Everybody's circumstance or situation is different. make sure that there's always agreement. You don't forget the foundation of your marriage, which is the love for each other. Because even with children come challenges in the marriage, so let that foundation be so solid that even when the children come, there's nothing that rocks that boat. Because after the children come, the husband will just like, hey, now you're neglecting me, blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
blah.
Right.
So let that foundation be rock solid, and such that, you guys are always, always, always in agreement and in that love that brought you together.
Wow. Thank you for those powerful words of wisdom. I think it's very important.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mogee. I mean, so much, Mogee. It's been amazing having you on the show. Your words of encouragement, just reminding us how important faith is. It's amazing. I don't think I've met anyone that has done the type of things you did in faith. So, wow. You know how they say in the Bible all the time, mustard seed, you definitely took that to another level. So, wow.
Thank God.
Yes, and thank you for showing us that, we need to step up and, step up in our game and get there and believing and trusting God for whatever it is, either it's for children or, whatever other aspect of your lives we are waiting for something hoping for. So thank you. Your strength and testimony, very inspiring. I'm sure that many listeners will be encouraged. And
thank you.
Yeah, it helps renew their hope. So thank you, Mogee.
Thank
and again, like I said, if anyone wants to connect with you or tap into or talk to you about how that faith happens or whatever it is, they can reach you via email info@mogeemagic.com.
Yes.
Again,
they can.
amazing. I'm sure I'm going to have this conversation with my mom and she's going to be like, no, wait till it happens. No faith yet. But we thank God for God being God, right?
That's it. We thank God for God. I know my mom's she cringed when I told her I posted it. She wasn't happy at all. But at the end of the day, we are answerable to God. Let the Spirit lead you. So.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mogee.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon. Thank
you.
You
too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Fertility Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram @Fertility Conversations. If there are any topics you would like to have discussed, please send an email to fertilityconversations@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Thank you again for listening. Take care of yourself and do stay hopeful.